Hey everyone, Magic Sword here. So I've determined pretty empirically that any mention of the situation just makes things not show up or people don't click it or whatever. So we're not going to talk about it. I'm just going to link back to it. So if you feel like I made a comment and then dropped it, which is like exactly the opposite of what I said we should do, it's because the internet doesn't like that and there's no point in talking into a void. So we are going to smile for the camera and talk about card reviews. So let's talk about Command for the Elements. Command the Elements, the Shaman Questline. Holy crap, this is exactly what I thought it would be. It's just, well, not exactly. To be fair, I thought it would be counting the crystals you overload, not just playing overload cards, which is an important distinction. The crystals you overload, that would be a higher number, but you'd be able to do it in lower cards, lower number of cards potentially, because some of them are like overload 2 or 3. Whatever. Same premise. And this first reward is huge, right? So you play this on one, you play 3 cards with overload, and then you unlock your overloaded mana crystals. If you overload, if you play Lightning Bloom, you overload 2 right off the bat, and then you play Serpent Shrine Portal and like one other card, you've just unlocked all of those mana crystals and gotten all the effects and advanced your quest. So there's no punish for cheating out 4 mana's worth of stuff and then playing a bunch of stuff on top of that, right? And in fact there's a reward because you advance your quest. So this turns overload downside into an upside, and that is basically what overload needs to be viable as a mechanic. That or like a 4 mana 7/7, right? Those are your options. So when you turn this downside into an upside, just like with Pain Lock, just like with Pain Priest, right? Suddenly it becomes really powerful. So let's look at our next card in the quest line. So we start with Command the Elements, then we see Stir the Stones. Play 3 cards to overload, summon a 3/3 elemental with Taunt. A fine effect, 3/3 with Taunt. You know, that's going to eat a minion, maybe 2, if it's against like an aggro deck where the average attack is a little lower. Very powerful effect. Just being like, no, stop. I'm gonna eat a hit here. You need that survivability when you're completing these quests. You'll notice that most quest rewards, excluding the final one, are either something that stops the bleeding or that accelerates the next part of the quest, right? Mage draws cards and priest draws cards. This puts up a taunt, right? Or unlocks your mana crystals, allowing you to spend more mana potentially on overload cards, right? So most quest rewards either accelerate your ability to do the quest or they stop the bleeding somehow, right? So after Command the Elements and then Stir the Stones, that we have Tame the Flames, play 2 cards with overload. This is the first time, if memory serves, that we've seen the last quest in a quest line have a lower requirement than the previous quests, right? Priest always had higher mana cost minions. Mage had the same, it was like a side grade, right? Paladin was the same all across the board. This is actually lower. It goes 3/3/2 rather than like 2/3/4 or something like that, right? This is very interesting. I guess the idea is like, there's a total number of overload cards you're going to run, and otherwise, like any more than that, you're asking too much. The deck itself becomes too weak, right? Even with how powerful bru'kan is, which we'll talk on in a moment. Um, right. Oh, sorry, real quick. Here's the token, Living Earth. It's just a pretty generic looking elemental. But after you cast just 2 more overload cards, and remember, it's cards, not spells. That could be Doomhammers, that could be Serpent Shrine Portals, it could be any sort of minion, even, right? It could be anything with overload. We get Stormcaller bru'kan, if I can stay on that for a second. So, battle cry for the rest of the game: your spells cast twice. Your spells cast twice. I'm sorry. Um, Absolutely so powerful. So powerful. Um, Now your lightning bolts do twice as much, and if you run regular bru'kan from the current expansion, right? Those all have, assuming they're nature spells, they have +3 damage. Your lightning bolts are going to cast twice and deal 6. What? Like, this is very powerful. It's a very niche build. It's not great, but people do run and win with. It's kind of like a tier 3 deck, right? Spell damage shaman, spell shaman. And to a degree, the weapon shaman runs spells like that. Um, with some slight modifications, you can borrow most of those same cards and slap this quest in, and it will operate mostly the same, right? Because Doomhammer's still there. The elemental package might have to be, carved out a little bit, but I can see that as like if you wanted to make a new deck, you could start with like half the stuff in the current Shaman meta decks, right? So that's huge, having a good jumping off point, right? Like I said, with other cards I've seen, I kind of have this thing where I'm like, this is a good card in isolation, but it doesn't have the support, or it'll take a while to get optimized, so it won't be meta dominant very early on in the expansion, right? Those are some pretty, I think, milquetoast takes, but this has the big advantage. I think we'll see it a lot early on because Shaman's already meta dominant, and then we'll see this new archetype kind of slapped on, layered over top of what already exists. So Stormcaller bru'kan, definitely a good deal here. Command the elements. You're probably just going to be playing that many overload cards coincidentally anyway. And so this is, think of it not as the quest is powerful, think of it as it makes other cards more powerful, and that's why it's so good. That's why it's a must-have, right? I think this will definitely see play. This, however, poor Guff, poor Guff, Lost in the Park. Questline, gain 4 attack for your hero, with your hero, then reward gain 5 armor, right? So the idea is you're gaining attack and gaining armor to hold out. And then you gain 5 attack and gain 5 armor and draw a card. And then you gain 6 attack and get the mercenary. And the mercenary gives your hero +8 attack and plus armor. This is totally out of sync with all the other heroes we've seen. All the other mercenaries, right? All the other mercenaries are these powerful, in the case of Priest, literally game-ending effects. And this is just not that. I've seen arguments that gaining that much attack is very easy, and that's true. And so the reward is proportionately weak, right? This, as far as the quests are concerned, is relatively easy to complete. There are several single cards that will give you 4 attack, right? It's not that hard to gain that much attack, and then, I have to, for the next step up, I have to hero power and then use one of those spells. And then that new minion that's kind of like Savage Combatant, right? Overall, I'm pretty underwhelmed with this quest, but that's because I think I'm in this weird mindset where I'm like, quests have to be deck defining, quests have to be game winning. But if you reframe that and think, this is just another part of my deck, kind of like what I said about the Shaman quest, where it's like, don't think of the quest in isolation, think of it how it enhances your other cards. Well, some druids already run Moon-Touched Amulet. So is it that far of a stretch to add another +4 attack card, the other Feral Rage or whatever, right? Or the new minion? I don't think it necessarily is. I think this could work, but it's definitely not the focal point of the deck. Jury's out on this one, unlike all the other quests where I've kind of been like, whoa, that's good. This is kind of So, not sure how I feel about this one. But Provoke. This looks busted. Reminds me of old Hysteria, except it costs 0 and is tradable, so it's like all upside. There isn't really much to say about it, right? There's literally a warrior card that makes it so your minions can't die that turn, and it draws you a card. So I don't know what they were thinking making this 0 mana. Maybe it's not as good as everyone thinks. I immediately thought of some stupid like that old Spire from the Grand Tournament that whenever it got attacked, it dealt 3 damage to a target. I immediately thought of some weird OTK with that. I don't know. It seems like it might be as effective as Hysteria, frankly, except it only makes enemy minions attack. I saw somebody say that this could be fairly priced at 2, and I think I agree with that. We'll have to see if this is totally broken. I don't know. Maybe it is. But holy crap, this just seems so strong. All right. That's it for today. We're going to go ahead and see what happens tomorrow. We're taking this day by day. Tell me what you guys think of Provoke and possibly the Druid quest. I think the Shaman quest is pretty inarguably powerful. The Druid quest more so kind of like in a weird spot, and this is also very strong. So I want to see what everyone thinks of these. Maybe you have a totally different take. Maybe you think it doesn't look that strong. Maybe you think it's the weakest card ever released. That's totally possible. 0 mana is a weird slot to fill. So that said, hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow. And if not, I want everyone to feel how I feel, which is I understand and I respect people's decisions to not reveal cards right now. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Let's be awesome. All right.